Good morning, good morning, good morning. So, today is very important. Today's a very important day. Today, well, to some it's important, some it won't be. But I was just reading an article the other day that Illinois became the recent state to pass the legal marijuana. Cool. Like I'm the completely perfect person for this. I'm going to tell you why. I'm absolutely unbiased. I've never done it. Never wanted to do it. Directly right in the middle. I'm just going to look straight at the facts. We're going to come right from it. I'm going to just tell you straight up what I found. That's what we're going to do. That's what it's going to be. So, let's fucking roll with it. So, what really piqued my interest is that a lot of people, especially like, I'm not going to rat people out or anything, but like even at my workplace, at places, that when I go out places, people are fucked up. Like people are high. Like you can, like they're already. If they're gonna smoke, they're gonna smoke. You know what I mean? If they're gonna get it, they're gonna get it. And most places, at least where I'm from, a lot of places don't, drug test unless there's like an accident or unless something big happens. They don't random drug test. I'm not saying that's permission for me to do it because I don't. That's not my bag. It's not my thing. But for other people, they know that that's the thing, and it's not gonna matter. So I came at it like, well, if I see that and that's happening, then why is there so much this debate? Like, if people could just see that it's already out there, people are already doing it, then why not at least try and capitalize on some of that money? And so I the audio on the other stuff wasn't working, so this is the first time you're gonna hear me. But so I decided, like, hey, listen, if Illinois made this is a real number, by the way. They made $30 million day one in just the first day of opening the doors to this legal marijuana. 30 million in a day, the whole state. 30 million. That right there was enough for me to go, yeah, I think Kansas could live with some of that. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be nice to have some of that. But anyway, so I went to go just look up a couple things, and from a totally unbiased perspective, I found some really good information. So, since it's the peak, it's been 10 years since, I was a kid, 2010 to 2020. And 10 years doesn't seem like a lot when you're going through it, but then you look back on 10 years and you're like, holy shit. You're like, now we have iPhone 11s. Now we have, like, we have things like YouTube Live, YouTube. I don't think YouTube was a big thing back then. I mean, it wasn't as nice as it is now. But a lot of shit that we have on a daily basis isn't like we see now as regular, wasn't there. No Alexa, no Siri, no Google, none of that shit was here. And so, like I said, in 2010, like in 10 years, there was nothing. Like, it was huge, huge amounts of people. Like, if you had marijuana, like if you were caught, or like if you had some, you were kind of fucked. Like, you were in trouble. And now, in 2020, like 20% of the states have it where you can go there, buy some, and the state makes some money. So, again, there's a difference. We'll get over that, but there's a difference between a state making it legal and still being banned or illegal on the federal level. So keep that in mind. But so I was just looking it up, and so I have it on here in my notes over here. But so this is legalizing it. This is a good case for why people want it legal. And so this is all from it's from Vox.com. Just that's the resource. It says supporters say that the prohibition on drugs has failed and reduced access and the use of marijuana while still wasting billions of dollars and resulting in hundreds of radically skewed arrests each year. I'll also give you some statistics about that, which is very interesting. Like, oh, here it is right here. Never mind. And then so it says, for example, when it says skewed arrests, so it says black and white Americans use marijuana at similar rates. That's been proven. But black people were 3.7 times more likely to be arrested than white Americans for marijuana possession. So people who want to legalize it say, listen, people are going to fucking get it. You might as well make money on it and cut the bullshit with all the skewed police arrest. Safe, good for everybody. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. If you're not, like me, you're not going to do it. I think that's a good argument, if I'm going to be honest. That's not a big thing for me. It's not a big sweat off my back. And then the people who say no, this is their case against legalizing it. And so it says their major concern is that letting for-profit businesses, or for example, like marijuana turn into like big tobacco, will turn into like big marijuana, and the market will sell cannabis will lead to market aggression and to heavy pot users who may have a serious drug problem. They fear it will be similar to what's happened with the alcohol and tobacco industry, where companies make much of their profit from serious users with addiction issues, and then is striving to set this up. Striving, or is it? In stirring this up, they worry that any move towards legalization will inevitably attract powerful for-profit forces, especially since the marijuana industry has really begun to take off. So that's also the case too. I don't know anything really about I mean, you can tell when you're high, you're high. Like, I've been around people who have, been high, and I'm like, you lack a couple cells that you had before. It's kind of like, I mean, you can make the argument it's not as bad as alcohol. It's not as bad as, actual, like it's obviously not as bad as like meth or cocaine or any of that bullshit. But you can tell that there's something going on that's just different. Maybe they lack a couple. People always make the argument like, oh, music's so much better, food's so much better, this is so much better. Probably because it could be fucking you up. Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't do any research on that. I was kind of scrapped for time. But if that's the case, if it is because they're making a ton of money because people have issues and now they're like, oh shit, I can just go here, grab some, and I'll be totally fine. No big deal. Like, people do that with alcohol. Like, that's why people are like, oh man, I really need to be fucked up this weekend. Good thing I can just go over there and get it. Like, so I do see where that's coming from. So that is a good argument. But again, I don't know exactly what they're talking about when it comes to what's messed up with their brain. I mean, you can tell if you're around someone, you're like, yeah, you're missing a couple of brain cells, But I don't know the extent of what that is. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a fucking doctor. So, and then there were some easy breakdowns too about, it was just called procon.org, and I looked it up just because it was an easy comparison of pros and cons. But from someone who's completely unbiased, these cons seem like just made up bullshit with no statistics. The pros, totally see the pros. Cons, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're just saying the opposite. And I'll explain why. So this first pro, marijuana legalization boosts the economy. Obviously shown, Illinois just made $30 million in a day. They're going to continue to make that buku's amount. Look at California, Colorado. Like, for real. So that's not going to lie. It does boost your economy. And I don't know what the state does with that money, but, I mean, it'd be nice. This would be a really messed up way to think about it or do it. But imagine weed sales and that money, that profit, turning and like putting it back into like the school system or something like that. Like, a previous crime drug could literally help the school system. Like, I was just thinking about that the other day. Like, that's cool, but also kind of messed up if that's how you like, oh, we need money, what do we do? People like weed, we could legalize it, make some money, then we could have money for schools. That's just what I was thinking too. And then the con to that one was it costs steep costs for taxpayers. So people would pay. So like people who don't do it would pay higher taxes. I get that, but I think marijuana itself is already taxed. That's how they make the money. So I don't know exactly how that comes into like people who don't want them there, if that costs them to us. But I mean, like I said, if it could go to something like for like school, like a school system, like in your state, like build that up. I don't see an actual problem with that. Like, if I had to pay, same with like people, this is a totally different diversion, but some people talk about like, for example, people don't want universal health care for many reasons, but they don't want to be taxed for like universal health care. I don't mind being taxed if it's going to something like with meaning or purpose. Like, if it's going to help someone or me, that's fine. If I'm paying with my tax money for something that is boosting the economy and say funding something like my school system, I'll pay that shit. Like, I'm not worried about that. I just don't like to be taxed for no reason. If it's going to something, way different than just being taxed out the wazoo for no reason. So, sorry. It's my weed right there. Coffee break. And then another one is when you legalize marijuana, it's shown that there's less teens that are using it because you have to be 21, I think, to go in and buy it. And then it takes the people, so then you can't just go like, hey, what's up? Can I grab some of this weed? Get some, and then they're off. So less teen use. And then so from that, the con that they put was increases the risk of teen marijuana use. And their reason was this statistics show that this was kind of a bullshit one, but I wanted to include it because I think that's true. I think that if you take it away from the teens, so people who can grab it from people, because that's how everyone got it when I was in high school. They would just go like, hey, my older brother, he's 18, he knows where to get weed, and then they just go get weed. So if you take it away from people and you make it affordable for people who can go to like a shop and get it and have to be 21, then you limit the spreading of it to younger kids. Because then the people who are old enough, if you don't have a brother who's old or a sister that's over 21 and can't get it for you when you're a teen, you're out of luck because they're not gonna. Your other teen friends are not gonna have it because so everyone has to be a certain age. Catch-22, if you have an older brother or sister who's 21 and they go and buy some, yeah, they can give it to you. But it just limits that chance because a lot of people I knew growing up, they had older brothers who knew drug dealers who would get some and then they could pass it to you. So I agree with that. It does limit that. But then it just says increases the risk of teen marijuana use. That's all the con. It had no reasoning. It just said that. So I'm going to go with the percentages it gave me and says that, yeah, it does limit the use of teens going through because it spreads less easily. So, and then obviously people make this other pro-con. Legal marijuana is regulated for consumer safety. I don't know about that. I don't know how the FDA is involved in that. I don't know any of that. But if it is regulated, cool. I mean, again, that's you come into the terms of state versus federal. So that's something. But then the con I wanted was dependence on the drug will increase due to its addictive properties. And again, never done it, never had it, never plan on having it, right? Even if it's legal, don't plan on it. So that's just me. That's not anyone over there. It's not me saying I'm more than you. I'm just saying that's me. So I can come at this from a different perspective. So if it does mess with you, if you do have, say, an addictive personality or someone who can get hooked on something very easily, and it does have addictive properties, if they can prove that it's addictive, not even as severe as like alcohol addictive or if you like crack or like coke or any of that kind of stuff, but even if they do find something that where it's addictive and you can go and you can kind of get like hooked and needed on that, then yeah, I don't like that because then you're just making it, because then you can make the claim like, oh, it's better than alcohol, it's better than tobacco, but it's like true, but you're still addicted to something that's feeding big marijuana. So that's the thing. That's the middle ground that I don't want. So like, I see the thing of people are doing it, people are going to get it. Why not make money on it? But I also see I don't want to see something like big marijuana compared to like big tobacco or like big alcohol. I'd rather have it right in the middle, where it's like people can have access to it. But if it's not as bad and it's actually medically proven to do things for you and help you, boom, that's right in the middle. But if it's shown to be addictive, if it's shown to mess with your brain, if it's shown to mess up some of those synapses in there and kind of fuck with you, then yeah, I don't want that out there. We don't need, as a population, we don't need any more that can fuck us up. So that's just me. And then another thing too, this tied into the one for the teen marijuana use as well. So like, when you take away, it says marijuana legalization is phasing out black markets and taking money away from the drug cartels. Pretty obvious because you can just go down to your dispensary and grab some. So, and their con was that organized drug crime statistics from marijuana legalization increases. How? They just give you a con. I don't know. That's why I didn't like this website, but I included it because lots of the pros totally see that. I can see that pro. Like, and when you take it away from black market, like people, like for example, if your 18-year-old brother can get it from his drug dealer and then can give it to you, that can be tossed down the line. But if you have to go to a dispensary, be 21, have your ID checked, have the money, pay them, be taxed, okay? Like that's a whole gate right there that you have to go through that you never had to before. And so that limits the chance of people just knowing someone who has it. Because, it just makes sense. Like in my school, there was nobody above 18 that they knew that they could just get weed from. Like it had to have been a brother or a cousin or someone who was. They were never above 18. Like I never met any. So that's the easiest way for kids who are like 16 or 15 or 14, whatever, freshmen in high school, be like, oh, I got some weed, and they get a little bit, But it was always from like their brother, like their cousin, or someone who knew someone who was older. But they were still in high school. There was no one who was like in college who was out there who could just give it to their little brother or sister. Because if they're in college, they're far away. But so if you take it away from black markets and from the cartel, and you make money here in the States instead of giving it to the drug dealers, then you're making money for the country and for the state, and I like that. Like I said, if you can use it for school education system, if you can use it for other stuff in your state, then I don't see a problem with that. But I just don't see it. I just don't see organized crime going up if you make it legal. I can see you taking it away from the black markets, from drug dealers, and making it harder for teens to use marijuana as a vice, basically. But yeah, I do not see organized crime going up because of you making weed legal. It just doesn't make sense to me. And then the next pro was that crime goes down when marijuana is legal. Probably because everybody's baked out of their mind. But maybe not. I don't know. And then this ties back into the mental aptitude. It says that legalization of marijuana can cause serious mental illness problems such as depression, schizophrenia, and other psychiatric disorders that need help. Like I said before, if that's true, if you can prove that marijuana is bad, that it messes with your brain instead of actually medically helps, like people like to preach, if they can come out with actual statistics and results that say that, hey, marijuana is bad, it does this to you, you have a 30% more chance of being depressed or developing schizophrenia or anxiety or whatever, which is probably not true because it's marijuana. No one gets anxiety from marijuana. I'm just saying. If you have a bunch of disorders start to pop up that like never were popping up like before, or if they're in more frequency, if there's more numbers in states that do have, legal marijuana, then yeah, shut that down, man. Because like I said, the American population does not need more stuff to mess with us. Like we already have plenty of stuff. You have tobacco, you have nicotine products like vapes now, you have tobacco, you've got alcohol, you've got a bunch of different vices in the country that can mess with you, that you can pick to be addicted to. Like, I need that, I need that, I need this. And that's just making the big businesses those money. Knowing good full well that they're just using you to make money because they can hook you with it. I don't want if marijuana is legal and it continues to go legal, which it looks like it's going to. A lot of places keep doing it, probably from a purely selfish standpoint of, like I said before, making money. You have to come at it with more than just making money. If you take something like marijuana and you go greedy with it and you try and use it as something that's like, hey, listen, because greedy is not necessarily a good quality, right? So if I'm greedy and I think from a greedy perspective, I'm missing all of that. All of this, just use my body as reference. I'm missing all of that good stuff right behind me. So like, instead, if you come at it like, okay, here's marijuana. Yes, we can make money. Okay. But is it creating another big industry we have to worry about? Do we actually want that? Like, it's tough. It's a tough subject because like I said before, you could take the money, you could improve your state, you could improve whatever you want. That $30 million is a lot of money. I don't know how it is in perspective for like a state, but if you continue to make that kind of money for a month, 2 months, for a year, you can make some serious improvements where you live. But it's just that what are you willing to risk to get that money? Are you willing? Because if you are creating another big tobacco or another big alcohol, if you're creating another one of those bad no vices, then is it really doing any good for your state or for the people around you? It's got to be looked at from an opinion that's got to be just more about money. It's got to be more about the general well-being of people and like loving your neighbor. Like, you got to come at it from a different perspective than just greed or wealth or, you know, just one-sided, basically. You got to take, it's like a cube. You got to look at all sides and then determine from those, hey, listen, is it helpful? Yes, it'll make money. You can't just say that about all of them. Does it mess with you? Yes, but it makes money. It's like, does it develop psychiatric disorders? Yes, but it's making us money. Like those, you can't just use making money as an excuse to legalize marijuana, which to me it kind of seems like a lot is. But if you can minimize the percentage of teens that use it, if you can just like they're trying to do with like a lot of like alcohol and tobacco products, a lot of that can be mitigated if you raise the age to like 21, which is why I like that marijuana you had to be 21, because you couldn't get it unless you were up way past, you know, the young 18 to 20 year old like rebellion phase or whatever. Because I'm 23, I totally fucking remember that phase. And that's the part where you're 18, you're like, I got so much freedom, you know, I can go tobacco, and that's when you like know people, you're like, hey man, like I know where to party, that kind of thing. And so it's just, I feel that if you can take it out of the hands of the 18 to 20 year olds and even the people who are in high school who are getting it from the brothers and sisters, then that percentage alone, that's a very good, that's a positive. That's positive to me. But you can't just look at it, I can't say it any other way. You can't look at it just for money. Like, it's got to be positives and negatives. So if you can take it away from the kids and the teens from that percentage, but you're giving a lot the people above 21 a lot of new psychiatric disorders. It's messing with them. They have a new vice to be addicted to that they think is better than tobacco and alcohol. But hypothetically, I don't know for sure. But if it's not, then you're just lying to a mass population, disguising it with greed. And I don't like that at all. So I'll have to do some more research on that for you guys and talk about it. But if you guys know more than me, if you guys know, which you probably do, if you guys, to be honest, you guys probably know a lot more than me. I just did some preliminary research in my free time before I passed out at 7 p.m. last night. So, but again, most of that's completely positive. I can see positives, but I can also see negatives. So from an unbiased opinion, the positives, yes, I can see, but the negatives you have to definitely prove to me. A lot of it is from psychiatric disorders, from mental illness, a lot of that stuff, you know, being addictive property, a lot of that stuff you have to prove that it doesn't do that in order to make it legit. If you can't, don't do it. Simple as that. But if you can just prove that any of that happens, then yeah, go for it. Like, and again, if you guys know, put it down below. Tell me, because that shit would be awesome to know. But anyway, that's part one. I like talking about this. I might just keep talking about it. We might just find more stuff, keep it going, because the ball's gonna roll. Like, the ball's gonna keep going on this. It's not gonna stop. Like, it's, unless a bunch of stuff comes out that halts it, it's gonna keep rolling. The ball's gonna keep rolling. So this talk's gonna be going for a while. So yeah, if you guys know anything more, if you guys know anything about what it does, maybe mentally, if you need any kind of disorders that pop up, any of that information, put that shit below. Like it, share it, find people, do it all, because this is a heavy topic. It needs to be talked about, and it's not going to stop rolling. So put it down there, do it. Thanks for watching. Check me out later. All right, bye y'all.